question,
Yes.
or first kind of prompt, is what is your personal hair story?
Ooh, it's complicated actually. So I'm biracial. I was raised by my white mother, so that already tells you something. Basically, dealing with having a parent who doesn't know how to deal with your hair. So I still kind of don't know how to deal with my hair. There is that issue. But so yeah, growing up, you know, we moved from the East Coast to California in the early 70s. We ended up in Oakland, which was at the time a huge black community. My mother had a lot of black friends, so I think she got pointers. And so I would wear, you know, I had like the little puff balls, I had an afro, you know, typical kids. Probably didn't do the braid thing so much, but just typical little black girl hair. What became interesting is that we moved down to the Ojai area, which is, you know, kind of over by Santa Barbara. Unfortunately, a lot of racism at the time. This was late 70s, and my hair made me like a target for teasing and bullying. So what ended up happening is that we moved down there. I had this huge afro. I'm going to try to find a picture to give to you, and was teased daily and called the N-word daily about my hair. So, you know, it became sort of this magnet. In a way, it felt that way for being treated badly. It was also the 70s, and, you know, hair product wasn't quite where it is now. And Farrah Fawcett was very popular, the Farrah Flip. So I remember trying to do my hair with the Farrah Flip with my kinky hair, which was very hard to do. I probably got some pictures in my yearbook I can show you. So there was sort of the struggles of starting to straighten my hair, trying to figure out how to manage it. In the 80s, I went to college and ended up sort of having it more on the natural side. I would have relaxer in it, but more for control than like a look. And just sort of had kind of big, loose curls. And then I think in the 90s, started straightening more. And I've kind of flip-flopped. I've gone from having, you know, wearing it straight and styled straight to, you know, just sort of letting it do its thing. I haven't quite gotten to where you are in terms of like,
yeah, this is a whole thing.
Yeah, it's like, it's a vibe. So I'm like, I'm not sure if it's quite me, although I admire the look. But yeah, I think at this stage, I go to a salon. The woman who runs this salon is in Culver City, is a black woman. So she gets it, but she's also a big proponent of trying to work with your hair naturally. So for, I think, maybe over a year at least, within the last 5 years, I had nothing in my hair and just let it grow. The only issue with that for me is that my hair is very fine, and there's a lot of it per square inch. So it just becomes like this thing, a huge difficulty in terms of just trying to get a brush or comb through it. So it finally got to a point where, again, I've been pretty much straightening it, a mild straightening, just to give it some control, make it easier for me to style and deal with it. And then, you know, usually I do the thing where I go get my hair done. She does the blowout, the press and curl. You know, I get a couple days of that. And then sort of, you know, I wrap it at night and do all that. But what I find is I don't like to spend a lot of time worrying about my hair. I used to be much more willing to do that. I find as I get older, you know, like even wrapping it at night is kind of like, ugh, you know, I've yet to find a good pillowcase, right? The satin pillowcase. So I have like a little hat thing that I wear. Also, and even when I'm not trying to keep it bone straight, what I find is that it also makes it easier to comb, because as you know, a cotton pillow will just sort of rough your hair and makes it breakage and all of that, which is something I had to learn on my own. You know, nobody told me. So, you know, I probably used pretty much every hair product that's out there. April Bay, that I'd mentioned to you, calls relaxer creamy crack.
Oh yeah,
and she's done actually I was just thinking about this. She did a project called Picky Head, and you'll see that if you go to her Facebook and website, where she often does things where she creates text using actual relaxer in kind of an impasto kind of application, which is really interesting. So yeah, it's kind of tricky, and now my work probably doesn't have anything to do with that. But it does deal with culture, cultural spaces, and dysfunction when you've got a variety of different aspects of culture coming towards one another that are generally incompatible. And so then there's these little explosions that occur, you know, whether it's physically, whether it's psychologically, whether it's socially. And of course what's happening in the world right now is like a giant explosion.
Yeah.
So
it's a bomb, basically.
Yeah, it's scary. It really is scary.
Yeah.
So I think my hair story is probably not atypical for someone who is biracial, who was raised by their mother, who's white. I'm sure my experience would be very different if I was raised by a black parent, because then there would be someone who presumably would know more about the hair. So I think there's that. I think initially growing up in Oakland and being around a lot of different black kids, and this was in the 70s when the Black Panthers were around, and it was a lot of Black Pride stuff happening, and it was cool. My afro was fine, I was good, you know, everything was good. And when I got to Ojai, I got this huge sort of shock of, oh, these people don't think this is okay, and to the extent where they're giving me a hard time about it. But yeah, I think, you know, so I went to these schools in Ojai. Unfortunately, very white. I am still friends with a number of people that I went to school with, and I'm going to see if I can find...
Hopefully they were not the bullies.
Yes, the cool... And, you know, of course, I was not the only person to get bullied. Now, my last name at this time was Jacob. So this is me as a sophomore, I think just sort of pulling the hair back. Oh, wow! That, I think 1981 probably.
That's insane. Oh wow, these hairdos.
Oh yeah, right? So I'm walking around looking at all these kids with the Farrah flip, and the perm was a big thing. Ironically, permed hair was huge because the film, I think it was Endless Love with, there was a young actor, I can't remember his name, who starred with Brooke Shields, and he had the blonde perm, and that was very popular. We were close to Ventura, there was a lot of surfing, so that was part of it. So ironically, the white kids were perming their hair, and that was a look, but me having my hair the way it was not okay.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Crazy because your photo, like now, like I could see a girl like that right now.
I know, yeah. It's like, actually interesting, yeah.
Like, you look more timeless than they do.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah. Now I gotta show you the awkward picture. Let's see here. If I can
There's
find.
always an awkward picture.
Oh god, there's some really bad ones. Let's see. What year? I must have been a freshman. Oh my god. Yeah, unfortunately, my experience in this place was so bad that I really don't go back there. Like, I went to one high school reunion, the 20-year, mostly just because I wanted to see certain people, which was fantastic. I saw them, but, you know, like, the people who were mean were still mean, you know, or boring, or, you know,
change.
The highlight of their life was being in high school. And I was like, really? Oh my
really
god.
Depressing.
Very
So
depressing.
depressing. Like,
super depressing. Okay, let's see. H-I-J. Let's see. J. I can find.
These are great that you still have.
I know, aren't they? They've become like these little, oh wait, now here's me trying to, this is a good one. Holly trying to do the Farrah flip. I kind of did it, but it looks like a flying saucer as much as it looks like the Farrah flip. So
it looks like you put like a bowl on your head.
I think so, and then kind of, yeah.
That's so funny.
Isn't that awful? I know, it's just like, oh.
This is so great.
Yeah, these are like crazy. Where is the pictures for this one? Wow, what is this? Oh, this is from Pitzer College. Okay, that's...
I'm going to take pictures of these.
Yeah, I was going to say you totally should. And then I think by the time I was a senior, I kind of figured it out a little bit better. So I had my hair done for my picture, you know, of course, for the senior picture.
Right.
I have the hair. So I think there I have sort of... Some more pictures. Okay, must be working backwards. Okay.
So crazy to see old yearbooks.
I know, it's
everything's
weird.
super colorful and bright.
I know, right? It's like, okay, where am I? H-I-J. Oh, there I am. So there I was doing a little better.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, it looks
There's
more...
improvement.
Yeah, exactly. I think a thing is like, my hair doesn't do what it did when I was younger. I found it was a little bit easier to deal with when I was younger, and it's again, it's because I was used to a certain texture. Now it's changed. So part of it, the story, I guess, of my hair has been adjusting to that change, and also having to face the reality of aging. Being biracial has its challenges in terms of even going to salons. So if I go to a salon that's kind of more, let's say, in the hood, for lack of a better description, I don't fit a certain image of what black women might be. And of course, we know there's a whole range. But what I find is that there's a certain level of resentment towards me, I think, because of the lighter skin and, you know, I mean, history of hundreds of years of oppression, we get it. And I'm a reminder of the rape of black women by the slave masters, I get it. But yeah, I found that can be an issue, is getting a lot of attitude from black women who, I guess, think whatever they think and have issues around, I think, the fact that I'm biracial, and also that I don't talk like them, act like them, or have a similar values. Other than this more sort of recent development of having blogs and being on the internet and sharing information that way, I would think it's probably been more of a familial, generational kind of passing along of how one cares for the hair, you know, from mother to daughter, you know, and going back to slave times and before. Because if you know, obviously women were braiding their hair and doing some really amazing things with their hair in Africa, you know, long before they got here. I would imagine during slave times it was probably about things that were easy to maintain.